Hello and welcome everyone. This is your astrology forecast for new moon in Pisces. And this is the last new moon lunation before the eclipses. But we are already in eclipse season. And new moon in Pisces brings very sensitive, highly compassionate, empathetic energy that many of us will have hard time to handle and to release, to surrender, because we will have a strong need for control, but we won't be able to control everything that's going on. And these are big subconscious fears that are being released, and subconscious patterns that are coming from different timelines. These are, family lineages that show us how programmed and conditioned we are through our ancestors, through those patterns that we are unaware of and that we think that we have under control. But this new moon may show us where we are being delusional, where we are falling into so many repetitive, toxic patterns that push us into escapisms, addictions, anxieties, panic attacks, paranoid thoughts, and all those things that disturb our inner peace, that disturb our emotional and mental stability. But as you know, Pisces is all about healing, especially self-healing. And we have really an opportunity to see some things from the past with new eyes, to see some things that have been torturing us with new eyes, with healing heart. And this is how we can transform the script. We can rewrite the script and reprogram ourselves. We are releasing everything that is not serving us. So we are going to be faced with some things that are not serving us. We are going to see those repetitive toxic patterns now much more clearly. And it's a lot about self-undoing and disintegration, dissolving. What's happening is ego dissolution. And we are faced with a lot of masochistic patterns and emotional self-abuse. Emotional self-abuse will be revealed to us. We are about to see where we've been, literally killing ourselves, where we've been putting ourselves into prison, and how we can not really escape the prison, but first, in order to get out of the prison, first we need to see that we are in the prison. So many of us are about to see in what kind of prison we are, but this is new moon, and it's allowing us to set new intention, to do things differently this time, to handle our emotional disbalance differently. And this will be especially strong and significant because Mars just stationed direct. Mars stationed direct on the 23rd, 24th of February after being retrograde. And this is probably now related to something that's been going on during September, October, November of 2024, because this is when we had eclipse in Pisces, and this is when Mars entered Cancer first time. So now Mars is about to station direct, and we will be able to gain more emotional strength and to see things more clearly, especially if things have been really confusing and self-depleting and self-disempowering and self-abusive. We are about to recognize those victim mentality patterns, because we cannot expect any change if we do the same thing with ourselves, with our close ones, with people we work with nature, with everything. If we continue doing the same old, we are going to receive same old results. So this is time for new vision. And this is about realizing that we don't have to do anything. We don't have to be anything. We just have to be there, to be present. And many tears may be involved because, this is new moon in Pisces, and we have Mercury in Pisces, and Mercury is in its fall when it's in Pisces. Venus is in Aries. Neptune and the North Node are in Pisces at 28 degrees. So we have a very strong archetype of Pisces activated now, and it's all about surrender, trust, forgiveness, unconditional love, transcendence, oneness, healing, going on a retreat, withdrawing, being in solitude, sharing the depths of our hearts, being empathetic, feeling for one another, being able to put ourselves in somebody else's shoes, being able to offer our presence to those who are going through something heavy as well. And we are discovering many medicines, many remedies during this time. And it can be very deeply emotionally disturbing, but this is what we need in order to see what is not only what's triggering us, but what is really bothering us, what is disturbing my being, what is disturbing my inner peace. And we are asked to be as flexible as we can be. And, you know, we need to take some time for ourselves, for being able to emotionally digest things and to be able to mentally digest things. We are going through big digestive problems as well, because the next lunation is full moon eclipse in Virgo, and it's about digestion. It's about healing as well. And the theme of healing will be very powerful in the future time as well. But you know, these triggers are here to remind us of our essence and of necessary adjustments that we have to apply in our life. And you know, we have to create our own support system. We need emotionally secure system within ourselves. But we may be faced with deep patterns that we have no control of, as I said, and these are related to either being very possessive or being addicted to external happiness, external pleasures, being addicted to externalize our harmony and inner peace, and also being avoidant, escaping, or chasing something. We are going to see that these dynamics come from the same root. They have the same root issue. You know, if we are avoiding contact with others, or if we are addicted to contact with others, this is the same thing. So we need to see what's eating us there. What is not giving us, what is eating our peace away? And it's a lot about being able to tap into that state of inner peace and to see what it really means to be aligned with unconditional love. Do we know what love is at all? And can we be in love with life even when things don't go as we want them to go? Especially then, because this is about ego dissolution, and our ego persona may feel threatened. And when we are threatened, we became as a wounded animal. So we may be dealing with our own wounded animal, but also with other people's wounded animals. But we have to see that when we are faced with other people's wounded animals, this is also something that comes from within us that is probably suppressed and invisible. So now the other person helps us, it reminds us. So what triggers us releases us, as I always say. So these triggers are our wake-up calls. They show us where we still where we still have some work to be done. And it's a lot about inner work. It's a lot about finding the remedy within ourselves. And it's about really being able to set healthy boundaries. But Pisces have no boundaries. There are no boundaries when Pisces is involved. But we are learning now that we definitely need to have some boundaries with ourselves as well. And especially if we are giving our power away to those external things, if we allow our external reality to rule our inner reality instead of being the opposite. We have to learn to turn on our inner reality and to focus on that inner reality that will then create the external reality. And it's a lot about self-respect. Do we know how to respect ourselves? And do we know what self-respect means? Are we able to respect our own wants and needs? Or do we have a need to respect other people's wants and needs more than our own? These are really tricky and complex times when, Pisces invites us to be in a state of being rather than doing, and to be able to be vulnerable. Because if we want to close ourselves, to withdraw, to be alone, and to shut down for the world, this is another toxic pattern, and we are being reminded of it now. And when we want to escape certain things, we are not actually escaping them. We cannot escape anything that is meant for us. This will come sooner or later again. As we know, lesson is repeated until it's learned. So we are now learning that lesson too. The lesson that whatever is skipped or escaped will come sooner or later again. And it's time to get real. It's time to get real and to see through those illusions, to see that we are really invited into seeing through our own lies and deceptions. Because we've been lied to. We've been lied to everywhere. We've been lied by our closest ones. We've been lied by authorities. We've been lied by everyone. Our teachers, our guides, our doctors, our parents, our partners, our friends. These are lies that we now have to reveal to ourselves. But this is self-recognition through recognizing lies that we tell to ourselves. Because sometimes we can reach the truth through lies. And I know this sounds paradoxical, but these are Pisces. And there is not so much logic, and there is not so much linear thinking when we are in the Pisces season. And it's a lot about being able to understand things that are irrational and more intuitive. We are asked to think intuitively, and Mercury is in Pisces. And Mercury in Pisces is not bad. And it's actually very, very powerful for deep understanding of things that we cannot usually understand, that our logical mind cannot understand. So with Mercury here, we have an ability to understand the language of feelings and to be able to verbalize it, either through written word or through speaking about it or through singing about it, through writing poetry or reading poetry. These Piscean energies, through music also and lyrics, we can experience a deep self-healing if we surrender to those non-linear intuitive guides and journeys. And we are asked to honor our journey. But this new moon is making a square with Jupiter. Jupiter is in Gemini. And we can expect some big news that could either release us, that give us some kind of relief, that give us opportunity for really powerful healing session with ourselves, but also with others, because this is time for therapies, for healing therapies, for unconventional therapies, for alternative healing therapies that are not focused on anything outside of ourselves, but that are focused on what we project and how we continuously fall into those infinite loops of repeating same mistakes over and over. But these are not mistakes. These are not obstacles. These are our lessons all the time, all the way, always. And this is a very sobering experience for many of us. So it can be very big news, very big information, something huge that can also push us into escapism, into addictions, into victim mentality. Pisces has really that strong victim mentality involved, and also feeling guilty in many ways, dealing with guilt, dealing with guilty conscience, dealing with things from the past, staying stuck in the past, feeling very weak, maybe feeling emotionally weak, maybe physically weak. And this is time to really deal with it, not to try to escape that weakness, because weakness is the place where we build our strength. And this Mars direct will give us clarity about what we've been going through in the last couple of months. And Mars will stay here in Cancer until the 18th of April, so we still have a lot of time now to see how these last couple of months have been, how they have been complicating and releasing our emotional knots, nodes, and we are now able to untie them because we have the North Node in Pisces too, and these nodes are karmic points, and we are able for huge karmic releases now. And this new moon gives us an opportunity for new emotional relationship with ourselves and with life. New feelings that we haven't felt before, feelings that we didn't count on, and big information that has the power to show us that we can be rich within ourselves, that we are invited to open for inner richness and inner abundance. And we may be very emotionally reactive because, Mars is now direct. Mars can express itself now in a direct way. It won't withdraw, it will be direct. And because of the Pisces, there is great pressure. And these are, again, emotional floods, mental floods, things that are very overwhelming, bursting in tears, very emotionally reactive, dealing with a lot of things that are untold, that have been hidden, that we are secretive about, because Pisces, the 12th house, hidden things, hidden enemies, hidden truth, hidden information. So some things that have been hidden are coming to light. They are coming to light, and we will be dealing with that. And the way we interpret that revelation will affect our way of being with ourselves and with others in the next 6 months. And we may be also very aggressive, but also assertive if we want things our own way. That it's my way or highway, no collaboration, no compromises. But this is double-edged sword. So we really have to be present in every given moment, because there is not one rule for everything. We have to know when it's the right time to react and when is the right time to be silent. And, knowing when the timing is right. This new moon is teaching us the right timing of things. But we are dealing with a lot of suppressed fears and things that we haven't talked about. Mercury in Pisces, Jupiter in Gemini, we have to express it. We have to say what it is. Because whatever we keep silent and keep hidden has the power over us. It overpowers us. It rules our life. So we don't have the power over those things, and it's time now for us to take over that power and to really see that when we are desperate, we don't really care about being self-abusive. And there is something addictive in being self-abusive, but we are about to see how these addictions and emotional abuses and victim mentality go together, hand in hand. And we are definitely very much ready for inner revolution. And this new moon is also making a supportive and harmonious trine with this Mars that just stationed direct. So this trine is helping us to do something that is really valuable. And there is a trine between Mars and Saturn too. And we have ability to build strong emotional stability, because this is what Mars in Cancer is about, and Saturn in Pisces too. We need strength, but not rigid strength, but strength is actually to be flexible. Being flexible with everything and being able to digest everything that comes to us, being able to digest any information that comes to us without being disturbed, or if we are disturbed, to be able to observe that disturbance and to be willing to change the rhythm of our psycho-spiritual complexity. We definitely have to change something now. This new moon is really pushing us into something different. And if we are repeating something, we will feel crushed. And sometimes we need to be crushed, because this is the only way for us to go through separation and to be able to reunite with our broken pieces again. We are mending those broken pieces now, and we may be busy with doing that big self-healing work. And we may be very confused, and we may be faced with lies and deceptions, with deep mechanisms of how we abuse ourselves and why. Are we able to be friend with ourselves, or are we our own hidden enemy that we cannot see, that we cannot touch, that we are unaware of, and then we project it onto others? Then the whole world becomes an enemy, the visible enemy. This is like the visible enemy is the person that's in front of me, it's the world that I see in front of me, it's everything that I see and touch and experience. This is my real enemy. But where does it come from? Where is the hidden enemy that dictates it all? That hidden enemy is always within us. We carry all principles within ourselves. And this new moon in Pisces has the power to shine the light, the new light, onto those things that we see as our real enemy. But in truth, there are no enemies. Not even that inner hidden enemy is not an enemy. It's a mechanism that helps us wake up. It's a sobering moment. And we may be going through huge compassion, either through certain situations with others, or through our own journey, through the history of ourselves. We are going through our own history, and we are able to see that many of those things are fake, that we've been lying ourselves too, that we have invented a lot of the things from our personal history. And this new moon may show us truth through our dreams. So let's pay a lot of attention on our dreams. They will have the power to heal us and to show us many things in, unusual, mysterious, mystical ways that we should know about ourselves. And this is like a descension journey, actually. We are descending again. So in order to ascend, we have to descend. And As we know, life is full of ups and downs, but we have to honor both the ups and downs. And when we are down, not to be in the state of waiting for ups. And when we are in state of ups, not to be imprisoned by that torturing thought that this will also pass. Just being really able to honor the present moment, where we are right now with ourselves. Because these are moments that won't be repeated. If we are really there, really present, really able to touch our souls, then we are always in eternal moment. And Pisces is about that. It's about feeling the eternity of our being, feeling the eternity of every moment. But we may be sucked into certain toxicity, into the need for toxicity. And we may see our own toxicity, how toxic we are, how toxic am I for myself, how abusive am I towards myself. And we may go through huge cleansing, healing, and detoxing now, and we will be shown where we need to be cleansed, healed, and detoxified. But these are also strong psychic abilities. Pisces is really, when mastered, it's the transcendence. It's an ability to really feel all as one, and to feel that whatever happens to one happens to all. What happens to me happens to everything around me and everyone around me. What happens to my neighbor happens to me also. And this is not about we are all the same. We are all one, but we are all different. And unconditional love is something that we are learning through whole life. And our whole life, why we are actually here, is a healing journey. And many people think like, oh, I've been through my transformation, I've experienced the healing, but it's a never-ending journey. We cannot just walk through one doors and say, that's it, I'm out. Healing is always happening, always, especially when we think that nothing can touch us, that we are untouchable and invincible. Then life likes to play with us and to show us that, okay, it's the struggle. But it's not the struggle that we've been framed into. It's the struggle of always doing the work of balancing ourselves with ourselves. This self-balance is really something powerful. And if we cling to one side of something, whatever that is, we will be soon, swept away from that place. And spiritual practice is necessary. Whatever that is for you, it doesn't have to be any spiritual practice from some book or from some teacher or from some guide or from some astrology website or whatever. No, find your own spiritual practice, whatever that is for you, and do it. We don't have that luxury now to be lazy in that way, in the way when it comes to work on myself. And it's urgent, actually. It's urgent in many ways. And this unconditional love and healing, they also go hand in hand. Because if we are not experiencing healing every day, then we are not able to reach that state of unconditional love. And we are really deeply reminded of what unconditional love is. And if we are not ready to receive it, we may be faced with some disturbing moments within ourselves. And there is a strong need to recognize the divine will. But there is divine plan behind everything. Everything that we see has its roots in the invisible and intangible reality. And this Mars-Saturn is really helping us to build something for ourselves, to build our future that is based on our real priorities and not future that is based on fear. We have to learn to live from the inside out and not to think that, when I achieve this, I will be fine. When this happens, I will be fine. When I have this, I will be fine. No. You first have to be fine, and then you will have all those things that you need. This is how it works. And it's not about delaying the healing. It's not about delaying the happiness. It's not about delaying love. It's about acting now. You don't need any external tool. You don't need anything outside of yourself. You have everything what you need already within you. All the tools, all the equipment, all the techniques, all the meditation. You cannot buy these things. You cannot learn these things. You have them within you. And we all have a special task to really do that work without excuses. We cannot find excuses anymore. We won't be, it's not approved. Now excuses don't work, especially not self-excuses. And it can be very emotionally exhausting, if we are externalizing our harmony, our happiness. And of course, we have responsibility towards others as well. We have to really wake up that feeling, to wake up that truth, and know that we have responsibility towards others. We have responsibility towards this life. I always talk about these things because it's very important to know that kind of responsibility. And we have Saturn in Pisces, so we need responsibility for our subconscious fears. We have to take responsibility for things that, how would I put this into words? We have to take responsibility for playing victims or for playing victimizers. And, we are asked to see beyond the madness of this external reality. If we are easily sucked into the madness of external reality, and we can lose a lot of our energy and willingness if we are always focused on external reality. So this new moon in Pisces really wants us to dive deeper into ourselves, to dig deep, to swim deep, to dive into the very bottom of our being, and not to be afraid of what is there, not to be afraid of those monsters that we haven't seen anywhere. We may be faced with some things that we have never experienced before, and fear can be overwhelming too. But it's necessary, because once we are faced with those things, once we see them, they lose their power, and we are able to see that everything is in coherent relationship with each other, and it's everything is helping us achieve mastery. Everything that we experience, everything that we see, that we touch, that we feel is helping us really to achieve the mastery and to move away from the noise, from our mental noise, not from the noise of the world necessarily, but from our mental noise. It's not about running away, to some places where we can be alone, because this is again focused on external thing. I know many people are now escaping, living in villages, in places outside of cities, building their own homes and being on their own, having their own peace. But it's not about having that kind of peace. It's about really being able to find the inner peace in the midst of madness and chaos. To see the chaos, because Pisces is also about chaos. And being able to accept our own chaos, to accept our own madness too. Because if we don't deal with our own madness, with our own chaos, then we will always be faced with some kind of madness and chaos that is coming to us like an attack. And we may feel attacked in some way. We may feel like something is running after us and like someone is hunting us, but no one is there except us and our own patterns, our own toxic mechanisms that we have built in order to protect ourselves. You know, we don't need these things anymore. These things are outdated. We have to let them go. There is something that we are letting go of. New moons are not only about new beginnings, they are also about certain death. Because right before the new moon, the moon is invisible for 3 days. And these are symbolic things too, because we are going through 3 stages all the time, in every situation, through our life, through our relationships, through our processes. There are main 3 stages. So 3 days of the moon that is invisible is our own 3 days of grief and relief. But these are not 3 days, literally. These are 3 stages of the process. The stages of healing and the stages of detoxification and purification. So what happens to one happens to all. And this is a time when we can fall to our knees and pray to higher power. Pisces is a lot about religion too, and faith. But we will be reminded of what true faith is, what really is our ability to have faith and to know. Because we are giving too much power to those external things that give us empty promises. Now we have to give that promise to ourselves. And we are calling out the divine to help us. This divine thing is locked inside of us. And through grief, pain, suffering, and self-acceptance, we open those gates to reach ourselves. And the individual must use that willpower that, you know, is the power of the whole operating through the one-pointed individual. And there is a lot of need for being understood. There is actually a desperate need for being understood, but we may not feel understood anywhere because we have to give this understanding to ourselves. So we may be faced with a lot of misunderstandings and misinterpretations with others, especially if we are in desperate need for being understood. And we may feel like we are going crazy, like we are really going into some kind of madness. But let's allow ourselves to accept this kind of madness and to see that as long as we expect others to understand us, and as long as we are desperate for being understood from others, we will fail. Because when we have that safe space within us, and when we are able to give that understanding to ourselves, then we may be easily understood by others without any desperate need to be understood by them. This is when things align on their own. When we are not in any desperate need for anything, all these things just come to us. We don't have to do a thing. We only attract them. So we attract things. We don't have to chase them. We have to attract them. And we are truly given a new light that shows us that this is a really never-ending journey. And we are about to see what we need to sacrifice. What we need to sacrifice in order for this self-healing to happen. And themes of sins, guilt, grief, victimhood, and sacrifice will be very, very strong. But we are asked to sacrifice only what's not serving us anymore. We are not asked to sacrifice something that has permanent value. We are asked to sacrifice temporary pleasures and those habits that don't support our soul evolution. And forgiveness is also a big theme. And it really takes guts to forgive without feeling like we did something great, without feeling like we are on top of the world or like we did some kind of a good deed. As Rumi says, like, do the good deed and throw it in the river, or something like that. I am paraphrasing. But, do something good and forget that you did it. Don't mention it. And do good things when no one is looking. But what it means to do good things, that's the question. And that is something that we are all going to discover within ourselves through our inner journey, through the self-healing journey. It is much easier to find blind spots in others and find mistakes than to focus on their qualities and virtues. And this energy now is really, really, really calling us to recognize qualities and virtues and to focus on qualities and virtues of others instead of being focused on their mistakes, their weaknesses, their blind spots, because we have nothing to gain if we are focused on those kinds of things. We can only lose. And then we have to do the double work in order to gain that again. And this is energy of understanding that everything that wants to reach the highest point has to be really rooted into the depths, like the trees. They are rooted under the earth. The roots are unseen, but those roots actually dictate the power and the height of the branches. Without those roots being under the earth, under the ground, under the soil, we won't be able to grow. So we have to really let those roots reach the depth of our being. We have to be able to go down all the way if we want to really feel the growth within ourselves. And roots and flowers, that what we don't see makes things grow. And there is a root of everything. And some things may be uprooting now. We may be uprooting our toxic attachments, because attachments are keeping us stuck. And we have to see what we are attached to strongly and what we think that we cannot live without. Addictions, as I said. And these are mostly emotional addictions, because all our emotional addictions are creating those external addictions that we become addicted to, either through people, through friendships, through partnerships, through complaining, through being addicted to certain substances or medicines. So all these things come from the deep roots, and we have to know those roots. If we are unaware of them, everything can happen, and we can deny them, we can ignore them, we can walk through life like nothing is happening, but something happens, and we think like, wow, suddenly we snapped. But it's not suddenly. It's never suddenly. It has been cooking, it has been accumulating, and we've been denying it, we've been avoiding it, we've been shutting it down, we've been escaping it, and now it finally comes, and we are going to be faced with our own self-delusions, with our illusions about who we think we are, illusions about others, illusions about many things that we've been living, and we may see that we've been living in many illusions, in many lies. And we are going to see our own lies now. They will be revealed to us, but we have to be able to admit them, to accept them, to work with them, and to be the best that we can be in everything that we do. And to see that everybody has their own path, and there is time for everything. Time when we come together, time when we separate, time when we are born, time when we die, time when we plant the seeds, time when we pick up the fruits of that planted seed. There is time for everything. This is what astrology also teaches us, the cycles. There is time for going to sleep, there is time for work, there is time for social life, there is time for being alone. So the right timing is very, very important. And this new moon is showing us that this whole life is a mystical journey, that we are the greatest mystery that there is in life. Like, I am the greatest mystery that exists, and I am always working on revealing that mystery. And this whole life is a mystical journey, and everything is mysterious if we see it in that way. Like, all the things that are seemingly trivial are also mystical. The whole life is mystical and mysterious, and there is this very direct connection with the spirit now. We are in a direct connection with the spirit, and we are going to be one-on-one with our spirit, whether we like it or not. And we may feel burned by this spirit. Spirit is the fire. And we may feel burning of this spirit, because in the presence of spirit, ego withdraws. Ego cannot stand there. Ego loses its power. So we are one-on-one with that spirit, and we are faced with our own guilty conscience now. And we are about to see the programs that have shaped our whole mechanism. And many spiritual disillusionments will be revealed too. Because I mention this very often, but I have to, because this is something that will be escalating more and more. Spiritual business. We are turning spirituality into something that it's not. And it's logical that it's happening, because something is really going on, and we have intention for one thing, but that intention turns and becomes something else. So we had an intention to, everyone of course wants to be good, to be happy, to be healthy, and this new age spirituality is very attractive, and it's very attractive especially for those who are desperate, who are in pain, who are suffering. And we know that majority of the world is in that kind of state. And these new spiritual guides that are giving quick solutions and instant information are even more toxic than previous programs. This is, I say, new age, new stage, new cage. So we definitely have to sink down within ourselves, to let those roots go really deep down, no matter how painful it is. But we have to know it's painful only for the ego. It's not painful for the soul. And we are asked to tap into that state of being able to observe, to be conscious, observant of our lives, to be the witness of our life, and to get into that role when it's needed. There is this great energy of wisdom of empathy, and this wisdom of empathy really shows us that we are all individuals with special functions, and that we are connecting with something much bigger than ourselves. And we have to let that pain teach us, because pain is not our enemy. Guilty conscience is not our enemy. Nothing is our enemy. And there is a great quote from Rumi. There are no friends. I think it's Rumi, maybe it's not Rumi. Forgive me if it's not. But it says, there are no teachers, there are no Sorry, there are no enemies, there are no friends, there are only teachers. And with this, I would end this forecast, and I wish you all a very healing and uprooting new moon in Pisces as an invitation into eclipses and life-changing scenarios. See you in 2 weeks. Bye-bye. Love you all.